What's up, everybody, and welcome to a Wednesday edition of Morning Cup of Hockey presented by Bet365. That is not Kobe Cohen. That is the handsome, talented, kind, and smart Jeff Marek. And I'm Jonny Lazarus, and we have a great show for you today.
You said that just you said that just as I wrote it. That's really good.
That was the lead in today's show. It's to talk about how awesome Jeff is. He made sure of that 3 times last night when we were texting.
We're gonna call this show. Oh, look, there's my navel. How you doing, bud? How's St. Louis? I was thinking that before, like honestly, it has been so long since I was in St. Louis. This is so embarrassing. It's one of those markets that I never ended up with. You know when the last time I went would have been 1995 for a NARCH tournament, North American Roller Hockey.
Really?
That I was both playing in and coaching. And I remember going to see, a St. Louis Vipers, New Jersey Rock and Rollers game. And I think Manon Rhéaume may have been the goaltender for New Jersey. Perry Turnbull would have been the coach for St. Louis. Oh yeah, I loved roller hockey, man. I was so into the RHI. I wish it would come back. I wish it would be more of a thing attached to ice hockey. I just loved it. And yeah, going to the NARCH tournament's the best.
Yeah, I got invited this summer. I might be playing like the Wish Cup in Nashville, if you've heard of that.
I haven't.
It's like a roller hockey tournament that has like a little like media all-star event. Philip Forsberg played it last year. I think Bobby Ryan did as well, nice. Which is pretty cool. So a little off topic with roller hockey, but I have a couple questions to ask you actually off the hop.
Oh, geez.
We have Eric Engels joining at 9:30 to talk Montreal. We'll talk Ivan Demidov, which is a big news story yesterday. The Leafs actually won the must-lose game last night. They didn't win the game, but they won in the standings because that's what they wanted. Ottawa with the best loss in their franchise history. And my question for you off the bat here, how do you feel about the fans that leave a game early to beat the traffic? Because if you did that in Dallas last night, you missed one hell of an ending.
Well, you missed a hell of an ending, but like I'm sure you wouldn't want to stick around to watch that. To watch your Dallas Stars just completely collapse at the end. Look, like hockey happens. I mean, I'm sure you've been on probably both sides, Laz, of games like that. Like I'm one of those stick around right to the very end. Like I always try to get to places really early, and then I leave like things like hockey games late because I want to see all of it and I want to stick around to see what happens afterwards. Like I'll tell you, most recently, and I'm really glad that I did this at the World Juniors in Ottawa, that Canada-Latvia game, the one that Latvia won. And like the minute they win, like I know there were a few. Yeah. Well, the game against Latvia specifically, like huge upset, one of the biggest upsets in the history of the tournament. And I'm glad that I stuck around after. And I always do this because Canadian hockey fans were pissed and they split right away. And oh my God, hand wringing about the whole thing. Everyone leaves. I always like to see what happens. Like I always want to see what happens on the ice, on the benches, in the stands, and I'm uncomfortable leaving until everybody's left. And I'm glad I stayed because there was this great moment. Like there was like the Latvia fan section, so all the kids went over to the Latvian section. They're pounding on the glass, and everyone's holding up jerseys and cheering. And this is awesome. If you know anything about Latvian hockey fans, they might be the best in the world. Like nobody celebrates like Latvians when it comes to hockey. But I'm glad I stayed because they also skated to another corner. And there was a bunch of Canadian hockey fans that were standing up and giving him a standing ovation, sort of respecting what they had just seen. And I'm like, if I had just left like everybody else, I never would have seen that great sports moment. Like Canadian hockey fans were pissed, but at least like for me, like the smart ones are the ones that stuck around and said, you know what, respect. Like that's a huge upset. These kids worked their asses off. Good for them. But yeah, if you're a Dallas Stars fan, you think you're all tucked away by the time you get to the car. All of a sudden, it's a tie game, and you're listening on the radio. And Kiefer Sherwood ends it for Vancouver. Yeah,
crazy, right?
It's wild, and you missed history, right? That's why you missed history.
I always wonder how people feel about it too, because all the arenas are different, also, right? Like. If you're watching a game in Madison Square Garden and you're going back to Long Island, like you have a strict train schedule, right? That you have to catch. It's like, oh, if we leave the game 5 minutes early, we'll catch this one. That's how my dad used to be sometimes growing up. But there's one game I was at where a father and son sitting in front of me left with about a minute left. And I don't know how they did it. It was game 5, 2012, Rangers Capitals at home. The Rangers are down 2-1. Brad Richards ties it with 7.7 seconds to go, I believe, was the time on the clock, and they end up winning in overtime. And I was thinking to myself the entire time, how did that father and son leave this game? And ever since then, I was in 10th grade. Ever since then, I said to myself, I will never leave a game early, no matter what. And I saw that building last night. I didn't watch the game live. Granted, I was, in the hotel in St. Louis, arriving and checking in, and I saw the highlights, and the arena looked empty with a minute to go down. And why wouldn't it be? Right?
Why? Of course.
Yeah, you think you're safe, and that is crazy that the Vancouver Canucks came back and won that game. But let's get into some fun topics here. I just wanted to ask you that off the bat because I always think people are different. I know
I stick around. Arena. And you know what? Yeah. I think that Johnny, honestly, like that comes from when I was a kid and my dad would take me to either NHL or WHA or then OHA, now OHL games. And for whatever reason, I don't know, I always wanted to see the 3 stars. Mm-hmm. Like it didn't matter what the game was. I wanted to see who the 3 stars were. Yeah. That's why I always wanted to stick around. Such a little geek I was. Still am.
No, it's a good sentiment. I agree with that. And I'm going to ask you it this way off the bat here, because I think everyone is excited for the Senators. Everyone is excited for the Montreal Canadiens, even though they haven't punched their ticket officially yet, but it seems like they have that spot locked in. Which team are you most excited for between the two?
Ooh, well, I'm really happy for Ottawa, and I'm really happy for Michael Andlauer. And just as an aside now, too, I can't tell you how many owners around junior hockey, because Michael Andlauer has done this, and he's not that that's his main business, but I mean, he essentially went from being an OHL owner to an NHL owner, and now here they are qualifying for the Stanley Cup playoffs. How many? We always talk about hockey dreams for players. How many owners in junior hockey do you think are thinking to themselves, one day that could be me? One day that could be me, the guy that owns junior hockey team X. One day maybe I could be an NHL owner and have the same Michael Andlauer experience that he's having right now. Ottawa, I'm really, really happy for. I can still remember exactly where I was when Chris Kunitz scored that goal in 2017. I was at a bar in Windsor for the Memorial Cup. With Colby Armstrong and Todd Warner, and we were all just so shocked and stunned, like, oh no, this miracle run for Ottawa has come to an end. So I'm really happy for Ottawa. But I think I've said to you before, there's nothing better than Montreal. There's nothing better than that experience. Like that city, that team, that logo. I know I always make the joke and it pisses everybody off, but here I go again. There's no such thing as an original 6. There's an original 1, the Montreal Canadiens. Everybody else is an expansion team. It's the oldest. It's the most revered. It's the most iconic, all of it. The fans are fantastic. The mix of Anglophone and Francophone, when things come together, can really be beautiful. I know that Brian Burke always talks about, the worst place to be bad as a manager in the NHL is Montreal, because when you screw up, you're stupid in 2 languages. And he's right. Like they're harsh. They can be harsh. But like they do things there so perfectly. Everything from like game presentation. Like I don't like Coldplay, but Fix You is perfect.
I love Coldplay.
I'm not the biggest fan, but it works so perfectly. Like even thinking about that song and Montreal, Saturday night, 7:01, guys hit the ice. Like I get like the chills. Like I get like, and it's rare. I thought it would have left me by now. So I'm happy to have that as we inch closer to it back as part of the Stanley Cup playoffs. How's that? Like I'm really excited to see that building, those fans, that logo in the postseason.
Yeah, I agree. I think for me, while I am excited about them, I think Ottawa could even.
They dusted your Rangers. That's why you're pissed.
No, I'm actually not pissed at all. And honestly, Jeff, I've been getting shit on by Ranger fans for the past 7 days just because I tweeted it last week that I thought Montreal deserved it over the Rangers, and people are like,
"Yeah, I heard that."
Oh, you're saying that, and how could you root for the team that you're in a wild card race against? And for the 20,000th time, I was like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not sitting here rooting for Montreal, but as a hockey fan, I look at Team 1, and on Team 1, I see young, talented guys who are celebrating every goal they score. The building is rocking every night, and they look excited to be out there. And then I look at Team 2. And it's a bunch of older guys who don't seem like they give a shit. They're not dialed in. They're not playing a full 60-minute effort any night.
Yeah.
and they look like they're being lazy right now, and they look like they're checked out. So which team would I rather see in the playoffs as a hockey fan? Team 1 or team 2?
Yeah.
Seems pretty obvious, right? So
Look,
that's all I was saying.
I cheer for people as opposed to teams. So like, I'm really happy for like Nick Suzuki. I'm really happy for Martin St. Louis. The Hutson family is going to dominate this league for a long time. So I'm happy for the Hutsons, but I'll tell you who I'm really happy for through all of this. Josh Anderson. You know, the beginning of the season, we were wondering whether, okay, is he headed for a buyout? Like, is this going to be the year? I know that there'll be 2 or more years on the deal, but is that where this is headed with Josh Anderson in Montreal? What is he at now? Like 16 goals? And he had that one, that one yesterday when the Detroit defenseman's helmet popped off and he had to make the decision. Do I just finish my play or do I go to the bench? And next thing you know, Anderson's popped it in. Albert Johansson. I'm happy for him because he's found a spot there. And big body guys like that, you know what they can do in the playoffs. It used to be that Josh Anderson could only score against. Here's the play. So yeah, Albert's helmet pops off. He goes to pick it up, and that leaves Anderson exposed. I'm curious, like what the call would have been. Can we, Vic? I'm really glad. Okay, I'm really glad that you showed this. Have you seen this, Johnny, from last night?
I saw the highlight last night on Twitter. Yeah.
Okay, what do you think the call would have been if he stayed with Anderson with his helmet off? Is that considered finishing the play to you? Like you are allowed to finish the play with your helmet off. Now, he's a young kid. He doesn't know. All he knows is, I got to pick up the helmet. And in the process, leaves Josh Anderson open. What would have been the call if he would have just stayed with Anderson? Would that have been considered finishing that play? I honestly don't know the answer to that.
Well, do they base it on time? Like if he's tied up with him for 3 or 5 seconds, like how do they judge that?
I don't know.
If he ties him up for 2
seconds. Whatever finishing the play is. I don't know that it's like, okay, if it's more than 5 seconds, you're not finishing the play because obviously that play was still going on. Again, he's a young kid, so he doesn't know. Like it's one of those real trapped moments for him. So I don't know. Again, we're talking about Josh Anderson here, but like I don't know what the right decision there would have been. It might just been one of those like, shit, man, hockey happens. I don't know. What would you have done? You played.
Yeah, I'm having a little bit of a Wi-Fi issue, so I'm sorry if I'm lagging right now. Just making sure you guys can hear me. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I got you good.
You got me? Okay. What I would have done there, and I think what Vic just said is take the penalty. You're leaving a guy with a back. And listen, we know the result, so it's easier to say it now than it is in the moment. But I think if you're there on the back post in a 1-1 game in the third period, you take the penalty. But again, I'm sitting here knowing the result, so it's a little bit easier for me to say now, and I can recognize that. But I mean, the rule itself, I understand that they want to keep players safe with that. But I think back to, a play even in Game 7 of the Rangers-Penguins series back in 2022. I think it's Chris Letang whose helmet pops off. He's forced to go to the bench. That leaves Mika Zibanejad open in a soft area for 2 seconds. He gets the puck, he ties the game. Penguins lose the series.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? He doesn't finish that play because of that rule. He gets off the ice, right? So there's so many different things that go into it. And the rule itself, like younger guys, older guys, like I don't know, maybe they react differently to it, but I don't know. It's a tough one to say just because again we know the result, so it's harder.
I'd be curious, and I haven't
excuse me. Thanks, Joe Albanese, for correcting me.
I haven't seen any comments from Todd McClellan about it, but I'd be really curious to see what his thoughts on that would have been, or just like for and maybe this is a Dave Jackson question, rules analyst from ESPN. Like, what would the call have been? And maybe and again, maybe that varies from official to official. And that's just one of those like human things you have to deal with in hockey. Like maybe for some officials that would have been a penalty, for others it wouldn't because it's still part of a continuous play. I don't know. Like that. Put it this way. I think that is going to be one that Stephen Walkom sends to the officials because they send out videos. An example, like every week, right? Like the Stephen Walkom, who's the head of officiating in the NHL, will send out clips and examples, good plays. You did this right. Like there'll be like a video montage that gets sent out to everybody. You can be pretty sure that one will be sent out as, okay, this would have been the call that we would have made based on how we interpret the rule book. But again, like, who knows what the call would have been? We won't know. But again, long-winded way of me saying, I'm happy for Josh Anderson because he's found a spot. We'll talk to Engels, but Dvorak has found a spot. Like Matheson, like a lot of guys that a lot of Montreal Canadiens fans may have been like, skeptical about going into the season, have found really good spots here on this team. So I'm happy for them.
Yeah, and again, like I asked the question too, just because I think Ottawa can almost, like, if I'm picking a team that can go on a sneaky run between the East and the West, like I think it's the Ottawa Senators. Like, not only do I think they could win one round, but I think they can even win a second round if possible.
So here's what I'm really excited to see, in because I want one story to stop, and it's the Linus Ullmark can't win a big game story, or Linus Ullmark, can't rise to the occasion story. I remember when Ullmark was playing with the Rochester Americans and they would play Utica, and the story would always be Ullmark and Thatcher Demko are going like head to head, save for save. Like, you had to see those games, but he never had the opportunity to be in a big game situation with the Buffalo Sabres. Big game situations with the Boston Bruins in the postseason were generally always handled by Jeremy Swayman. There is that people still wonder, okay, like, good goaltender, top 10 skill when it comes to goaltending in the NHL, but can he win the big ones? Like, you know what it's like? Like, NHL postseason is totally different. It's different physically and it's different mentally as well. Can Linus Ullmark do this? I love him. Like, I really love the person. I like who he is. I love his interviews. I love what he's all about. Like, all of it. I love the skill, everything. I just want to see him gut one out, Johnny. I just want Linus Ullmark to gut one out. How's that? I think we lost Johnny. Wait a minute. Does this mean this is my show now? All right. This is going to be awesome. So I'll put on my Colby Cohen BU hat here. I can do my nickel and dime Colby Cohen impression here as we wait to get Johnny Lazarus back on the program. Obviously having some technical difficulties in St. Louis. Yeah. It's funny too. I made this hat because, just as a quick aside, I made this hat because Colby told me the next time he was at a BU game, he was going to get me an official BU hockey hat. And just because I'm intensely greedy, I also asked for like a BU dry fit, a BU toque, like all this stuff. And instead of getting that, here's what I got from Colby: 2/3 of the square root of sweet fuck all. So I made this hat instead. I'm going through the origin story of the hat, Johnny, as I tapped in before you came on here.
Just like that, the show turned into the sheet. I apologize. The Wi-Fi. I called the front desk before. Really trying to figure this out. J-Rock, the city's been lovely, but the Wi-Fi has been a struggle. Listen. First of all, Jeff, I appreciate you for stepping in today. But second of all, asking you,
Carter Hutton want me to jump on
in the morning. Yeah, this is the sheet. This is the sheet part one.
You're busy. Go get some French toast. Me and Carter are gonna land the plane here. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, we might need you honestly too tomorrow if the Wi-Fi continues to look like this. But I heard you talking about Ullmark. Ullmark. I don't necessarily want you to repeat yourself, but
okay.
I agree. If I heard every one in every 4 words you were saying, but I too am happy for Linus Ullmark, and I too think he can go on a run in the playoffs.
I hope so. If
that's what you're saying.
I really want, like, listen, essentially I want people to do well. Like, I'm not like a cynical, like, hate this guy, hate that guy. Like, I don't necessarily cheer for a team. Like I said before, I cheer for people, and I really want Linus, like, I want like good people to do well. And I really get a sense that Linus Ullmark is, at his core, a really good person, loaded with skill. That's why I want to see a guy like that finally shake off this, like, oh, when has Ullmark ever, been in a big game, stare down the competition, all these types of things. I mean, again, I'll go back to like Rochester and Utica in the Demko Ullmark wars. But I want to see the guy do well. Like, I want to see him like distinguish himself here, just like kind of like Jordan Binnington did in 2019 with St. Louis. And then again,
as we all know,
sorry to mention at the the Four Nations face-off.
Yeah, it's okay. It's just the All-Star game, but as we all know, and as the Daily Face-Off listeners all know, Carter Hutton walks so Linus Ullmark could run. But I do want to go into something because we have about 10 minutes till Eric Engels, who's a dear friend of both of ours, joins. And as our listeners do know, we do have a new sponsor that we've been using the past couple weeks, and we got to go into the crispy hot take for today.
Yeah, man.
So just want to give a quick word. Time now for the crispy hot take, presented by the Ninja Crispy 4-in-1 portable glass air fryer.
Meet the first of its kind, the Ninja Crispy portable cooking system. The power of a full-sized air fryer in the palm of your hand, so you can cook big or small batches. Just prep it, crisp it, serve it, and store it all in one.
And just talking about the Ninja Crispy really quick, it is a all-in-one system that includes a 4-quart, 6-cup Tupperware glass container and 2 storage lids. The Ninja Crispy is a thermal shock resistant and can go from frozen to crispy in minutes. With the Crispy Power Pod, you get the power of a full-size air fryer in the palm of your hands. The 4-quart container fits 4 pounds of chicken or veggies, and you can cook a personal-sized meal in 7 minutes in the 6-cup container to max crisp, bake, air fry, and re-crisp with the Ninja Crispy. You can prep, cook, and store anything from crispy favorites to one-dish meals. Visit their website in the link in the description, and stay tuned for a chance to win a free Ninja Crispy for one of our lucky fans. And today,
do we qualify? Do we qualify to win one of these things? Because like I'm looking at like cauliflower, and broccoli, and asparagus. Like, oh
yeah, I would hope so. But Vic and I were discussing this before the show about what today's hot take would be, because it's, you know what, listen, we don't want to fake it. It's tough to come up with these every day. But today we were talking about David Pastrnak, who secured his 3rd straight 100-point season, a goal and 2 assists last night. And I'm giving credit to Vic on this. He thinks David Pastrnak requests a trade in the next 2 years. What do you think about that?
Disagree. I think that the Boston Bruins pull off either one of the most major signings or trades and bring in a superstar first line center for David Pastrnak. Like I look at like, listen, you want like the hot take of the day? Joel Quenneville goes to Boston.
Joel Quenneville goes to Boston.
Yeah. You want a hot take? You want to do a hot take for the Ninja Crispy? Joel Quenneville of the Boston Bruins. Like I look at like Boston's going to need something big, and Boston's going to do something big, and this isn't going to be a rebuild where you got to take it down to the studs. McAvoy, Lindholm, Pastrnak, Swayman, like key pieces are in really good positions here for the Boston Bruins. This isn't going to be like we're wandering in the wilderness for 6 years until we stumble across Zach puts in Fraser Minton. He scored. It's 3rd.
Yeah.
They're not going to be wandering for a number of years. Like Joel Quenneville wants to be in a competitive situation. This team's quick. Like this team's turnaround is going to be fast. Like honestly, I would go the opposite to what Vic said for the hot take of the day. I would say quite the opposite. They swing a deal for a massive deal to bring, or a free agent signing to bring in someone to play with Pastrnak.
Do you have any names at the top of your mind?
Connor McDavid.
Well, he's.
I don't know. I just thought I'm just going for the theme here of like the hottest take of all time. I don't know. I honestly I have no idea. But in the spirit of hot takes, I can see Pastrnak staying and playing with an elite level superstar here. I can actually really see the Boston Bruins going for it.
I forgot who I asked this question to. I think it might have been Andrew Raycroft actually not too long ago. And I kind of want to ask you, because you have no skin in the game, right? So we're talking about like a Boston rebuild. I know you've had a lot of conversations with Eric Tulsky, and there's been some negative narratives around Carolina this year about people wanting to go there. If you had to put money on it, or if you had a hypothetical gun to your head, and I know from the movie Couples Retreat, you never put a hypothetical gun to your therapist. Who wins the Stanley Cup first, the Boston Bruins or the Carolina Hurricanes?
I still say the Carolina Hurricanes.
You do.
I still do. I think eventually this again, like I've man, I remember I was that guy that used to bet on the San Jose Sharks every year. Like I was always the guy that said, this is the year for the Sharks. This is the year for the Sharks.
Yeah.
Like Thornton and Marlowe, Boyle and all those guys. Like I was always that guy. And I'm still that guy with the Carolina Hurricanes.
Mm-hmm. You just have the hope you're like a Buffalo Bills fan.
Might as well be a Buffalo Bills fan, yeah. But
Yeah.
I really do like whether who knows, it's going to happen this year, next year, whatever. I still think that this is still a high end team that if they can ever get the hospital bracelet off the goaltenders, that they'll really make some noise in the playoffs, right? Like they've always been stung by the net minding. So
Manuel Rodriguez,
I'll
you see that comment in the chat? You see that comment in the chat? Manuel Rodriguez.
Hot take, yeah. The Canes and the new Sharks. Yeah, I know. I've seen that. Listen, like they've always been there. They've always been around it. The one thing that I think we know about the Carolina Hurricanes now, like first of all, they were like, back when Buffalo was moving Jack Eichel to Vegas. Like Carolina was around too. Like Carolina's always been around big names, and they've always tried. And we all know what happened with Mikko Rantanen this season, but it's not for lack of trying here. Like I like the idea that Tulsky has, which is don't just replace players. Like you have to be able to make your team better. You know, like they could have signed a lot of players in the offseason and brought them back. I mean, they would have done some salary cap maneuvering, but that isn't sort of the MO that Tulsky has. And the one thing that we've learned in the salary cap era is even if you have a chance to improve your team slightly, ever so slightly, you have to do it. Like if there's one decision you think that'll make your team even that much better, you have to do it. Because with everyone playing with the same amount of money and league parity and blah, 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 sometimes that's the difference. So like you are obliged now because of the salary cap to make that decision. I think that Tulsky is one of those guys that understands that perhaps, you know, better than most.
Yeah, and I see some comments in the chat too, and I would actually agree and argue that I think the Dallas Stars are more like the San Jose Sharks, honestly.
Dallas,
of that era, just because, and I don't think Dallas and Carolina are comparable, to be honest. Like Carolina still has not won a conference final game. You know, they got there, sure, but they got swept. And as you know, we all know, Rod Brind'Amour's comments, you know, they didn't get swept. But the Dallas Stars, they went to a Cup final in 2020 in the bubble. You know, they've been to that final, just like San Jose got to their final. You know, granted they didn't win it, but you know, Dallas to me has more firepower up front. But they've had that like steady Sagan-Ben combo, like the Thornton-Marleau combo San Jose had. You know, I think they've been around just a little bit longer, knocking on that door a little bit longer than Carolina has been. Like Carolina's been good, but they haven't really been knocking on the door like Dallas has. If that makes sense.
I just think that so much of what, and this is like specifically postseason, so much of what Carolina's been, you know, fallen victim to has been, you know, bad goals at bad times. Like honestly, not to throw everything all onto one position, but you know, the blue line has always been a top 5 blue line with Waddell and now with Tulsky. They can score, they can defend. They play a really aggressive style of game. Like you and Colby always, you know, can break down the game a lot better than I can, but like it's a combination of sort of, you know, new school possession and old school table hockey. Put the puck in safe areas so you can retrieve it. Right. It's always been a great dump and chase team. Chip and charge. They've just honestly, like they've always been sewered by goaltenders, either bad performances or bad health. And you know, I've always been hoping here in this era that Pyotr Kochetkov could be the remedy for all of it. And we'll see what happens in the postseason. But Dallas is interesting too, right? Like I don't like the right side of the blue line whatsoever. Like CC, Lyubushkin, Dumba, like that's not scaring anybody. But I will say, like, you better get to Dallas early. Like you don't want to let this get to a place where Miro Heiskanen comes back. Right? Like that changes everything for Dallas.
And just before we get to Engels, one thought I had too, and I don't know if people like actually have discussed this ever, but you know, there's been a lot of Adam Fox discourse this season, and I've talked to some people about him too. And you know, some people have said like, man, I wonder if he actually gave Carolina a chance, what he would have looked like in that system and the way they play hockey. You know, he's obviously been a great defenseman in the NHL since he's played for the Rangers. And, you know, when you have a chance to play for the team you grew up rooting for, you take that chance if you want it.
I get it.
But you got to think, you know, his point production, while it's been incredible in his career, what it would have been like had he played with the Carolina Hurricanes and that style of play. Like, I imagine, he could have been such an incredible piece to that roster.
The one thing, and I've always liked this about the construction of Carolina, it's almost as if like deliberately they try to ensure that there's not an overlap of skill. Like there's not like three players that do the exact same thing. Like they can all be wonderful and that's great. But if they're essentially the same three players, Carolina's not interested. Like they like their players to all be distinct and do very distinctive things. Like it is to me, it's one of the most interesting teams in the NHL. I know that Carolina doesn't get a lot of fanfare, but to me, they're one of the more intriguing teams and have some of the more intriguing personalities and skill sets of any team that's currently playing.
Listen, I think they're a team to look out for this year. The East is wide open.
They've
been playing really well. And we're going to talk about the East right now when we bring on our friend Eric Engels. But before we do, just want to give a quick word from our sponsor, Proraso, the most complete choice for shaving and beard care. Made in Italy since 1948, Proraso has been a staple of Italian culture and barbershops globally for 4 generations. So get 15% off at Proraso-USA.com with our promo code Hockey15 in all caps, Hockey15. And Eric, you're the best because I could text you at 1 a.m. I could text you at 5 a.m. I could text you at 7 p.m. And I know you'll answer and I know you'll hop on this show, but every week we have to have you on because every week the Montreal Canadiens are making headlines and in positive ways. So, first of all, good morning.
We'll sleep when we're dead.
Exactly.
Yes. Amen,
who's
brother.
That, John Rothstein? Who is that?
Amen.
John Rothstein? Or we sleep in May is what he says, the college basketball guy. John Rothstein?
I don't know.
No?
That one's gone back for years. Yeah.
He says we sleep in May, I guess, when the NCAA tournament ends. So I guess for us hockey people, we sleep in August when there's no NHL news really going on. But Eric, where in the world is Ivan Demidov?
He's making his way to Montreal. I don't expect he's necessarily landing today, although that could be the case. But I think by tomorrow he might be here. I'm going to say might because no one can give a clear answer and everyone's guarding this. So it is what it is. The point is he's coming. He's coming months ahead of whenever anybody thought he would. He's making his Canadiens debut this season and not next. And boy, should Canadiens fans be excited about that. I don't know if you can tell if they're excited about it. Can you guys tell?
Oh, yeah.
There's a tiny. Listen, they're already talking about Ken Dryden, Conn Smythe before you have a full season. Conn Smythe trophy before the Calder, like all this, and the bonuses are really smart. Like listen, good on the agency there. Good on the agency for that one. That's
Jeff. I'd imagine you've spoken to Dan Milstein a few times in your life.
I've spoken to Dan Milstein more than a few times. Nothing gets by Dan. Nothing gets by Gold Star, Eric. You know that. Gold Star is on it. That's a nice bit of business there by Dan. Yes.
You guys should read his book. He's got a book. I think it's entitled something to the effect of you can't be to be number one, you can't be number two, or something like that. He's hilarious.
Yeah.
He's very funny.
I like him. I got a lot of time for him. By the way, on Demidov as well. And we were talking off the top of the program about just Montreal and how they handle things. Like you've heard me, my old line is always, they do things properly in 2 places in the world, Buckingham Palace and the Bell Center. Like everything is like, it's perfect, right? So you're Kent Hughes. How do you handle this? Because on the one hand, like to your point, Eric, everyone, it's like Demidov mania here. Okay. And everyone's like, okay, check the bridges to make sure the floats can fit underneath because Demidov is coming. But like you're Kent Hughes, you're the Montreal Canadiens. How do you handle this and sort of temper expectations so this fits seamlessly?
You're asking the most relevant question because if you're Kent Hughes, you're kind of scared about the whole situation because it is out of your control. No matter what you try to do to put a kind of a stranglehold on it and calm everybody down, it's not like he watched all season long as Canadiens fans ranted and raved about Roman Rodenberg. You look at Demidov over there. He broke Kirill Kaprizov's KHL record for under 20 scoring by 7 points. And he did that playing 21 of his 65 games under 10 minutes. He started the playoffs as the quote unquote 13th forward and of course led them in scoring. A lot of people thought this was punitive action from Rodenberg, and to a degree, it was. What it really was is when did Kaprizov come over to North America to play? What age was he? He wasn't 19, and the Russians wanted to convince him to stay there badly, and if he was going to play the amount that he deserved to play, he was going to torch them in the process, because they'd be looking like, not only are we losing this guy, but we're losing the best player in this league at age 19, which I think he already showed he was, with respect to some of the guys who might have finished ahead of him in scoring. Mm-hmm. And that's why Kent won't be able to temper the enthusiasm or the expectations or the concerns that when Martin St. Louis tries to ease him in as a rookie here a little bit, people were going to be freaking out about his ice time. Like, and I would just say this. I don't think they should worry about it too much, because I don't know how much you guys have watched this guy play. He's amazing. He's going to be absolutely amazing. Right away.
I don't think there's any doubt about it. My only question about this. Well, first of all, you always have to adapt. Like there's going to be like, it's like, even like you look at Michkov, like there was a pace issue with him, like right away. Everyone thought Michkov was going to walk right in. There was how you use the ice. Like he had like some issues that he needed to work through. Of course, there wasn't the best of all possible relationships with the head coach too. So there's going to be like a transition period here. The only thing, and again, like I'm really nitpicking this thing, and I'll admit that I'm nitpicking this thing, and there's some things you can't choose. And I get that, but it's a lot easier to ease someone into a lineup at the beginning of the season, as opposed to now, when all of a sudden, holy smokes, like could there have been a better day for Montreal than yesterday? Like, okay, now they dusted Detroit Red Wings. I know they had an awkward first period and got, outshot, but they salvaged the first period only down by a puck, and then it's off to the races. Montreal is the talk of the town. Here comes Demidov. We're off to the playoffs. Everything is good. Like it's more of a dangerous time to try to blend a new, albeit highly skilled potential superstar into your lineup right now, because you're heading to the playoffs and we all know what Montreal is like. You know it better than all of us here, what it is like in Montreal during the playoffs, and you have Demidov as well.
The good news is that Ivan will have the opportunity to prove he's worthy of whatever he gets, and they will ease him in. Lane Hutson at the beginning of the season had some adjustments to make, and the thing that makes him a superstar above his talent, his work ethic, and everything else is his adaptability. How quickly he has adapted to the NHL game, and not only become reliable defensively, quote unquote, one of the best defensive defensemen playing in the NHL right now. The way he plays, even, and if people are going to laugh at that statement, well, go look at, I hate this stat in particular as something that you should draw main conclusions off, but at least speaks to how good he's been defensively, that he's the league leader in plus minus since the Four Nations. But the point is, they couldn't chain Lane. Like, he's unchained. He plays 25 minutes a game. He averages 23 on the season, but he's of late playing closer to 25. Because he's that good. And this kid that's coming here, yes, there will be an adjustment. They brought Kapanen in from the Swedish League playoffs. They put him in late in the season. He's played a couple games, eased him in. He didn't really play much in the third period yesterday, although I would have argued he should have been on the ice more than a couple other people that were playing the way he was playing. These kids have the ability now to do it. Demidov is a special player. That we're not talking with respect to Michkov, who's been fantastic this year. I don't think we're talking about the same players between these two guys in terms of what their higher end potential is, but also what their floors were coming into the league. So it's a really compelling time. And you're right, Jeff, though, it is a very difficult situation to navigate, but pretty good problem to have.
No kidding.
Well, to me, I think it's a win-win, honestly, throwing him in right now, because, I think this is kind of what Jeff was saying as well. It's such a good feel-good moment right now in Montreal that, let's say, Demidov comes in and doesn't do all that well, you can almost have the excuse of, oh, well, we threw him into a fire. And that's why maybe he's starting off a little bit slow. This team is 4 or 5 games away from the playoffs. It's a tough adjustment to make. And if he does well, it's like, oh my God, he's contributing to what's been such a fun, late season push. And let's be real, while everyone is excited about Montreal, I don't know if everyone has high expectations for them to go far in the playoffs. So to me, having him get, these, let's call it 4 to 8 games that he'll get will just be great to build into next year, no matter what. And if they do win that first round, then he gets even more. Like, to me, it's a win-win, just because, you have that excuse in your back pocket of, he's joining at such an awkward time that maybe it's a little bit tougher for him. And if he does well, great for us, but maybe they're not expecting him necessarily to jump in and like help push this team to a long playoff run. So why not just go for it, right?
I think even more than that, he's not stepping into the NHL and taking Slavkovsky or Cole Caulfield away from Nick Suzuki. Okay. Mm-hmm. So that's, you can eliminate that one in terms of pressure to produce. The hope is that in playing with Alex Newhook and Patrick Laine, those guys find a different level of offensive production at 5-on-5. It's a good opportunity for him, but he won't be expected to be the savior of that line, which at 5-on-5 hasn't produced the level you'd want. Newhook has played really good hockey this year. He's been unlucky if you look at the PDO chart, basically, but he's proving that I think he's going to be a middle sixer throughout his career and a really good third line center. Right now, he's in the position he's got to be in by default, and he's doing reasonably well with it, with a guy in Patrick Laine who lights it up on the power play and is not good at 5-on-5. So what Demidov could bring, though, to both guys, it's a short runway for him to show it, but I have a feeling he's going to show it, and people are going to be pretty surprised by what he's able to do right away.
If I told you, Eric, at the beginning of the season that by the time April 9th rolled around, Montreal Canadiens fans will have fallen in love with Josh Anderson and Christian Dvorak, what would you have said?
I would have told you that the chances were higher in Anderson's case because of the role that he was going to be put into, that he was more well-suited to play. Dvorak, if you had told me that 2 months ago, I would have kind of laughed about it, because I could recognize when he was playing well and wasn't necessarily productive and being compensated for that. But a lot of people see a very vanilla style of game, and so it doesn't help his case when he's not producing. Now, it's good you coupled those two together, because when you put Christian Dvorak with Brendan Gallagher and Josh Anderson, you have three players who are not only smart and experienced, they're three players who complement each other perfectly. They play a very direct style of game. They know, look, if you watch Josh Anderson, I would wager that Josh Anderson has the most offsides personally himself. Like he's offside the most of any forward in the league per 60, I would say. Okay, because of ice time regulation.
Sure.
Why? Because Josh Anderson is being told to fly. Just go, because those two guys are going to put the pucks into the corners, and if he has a head start, nobody's beating him. Like, there's no chance. So they're willing to take an offside or two, because he just goes. And when he goes and when he gets on his horse, he is easily one of the most dangerous players in the world in terms of what he can do physically. Gallagher, the work that they have done with him to become a much more efficient player, has him not coming back to the bench doubled over all the time like we saw over the last couple of years. He's expending his energy in a much better way. And if you watch last night's game, like he was flying. His legs were great. Dvorak, very smart player, very understated player, wins his faceoffs, great on the penalty kill, and playing with two guys who are perfectly suited for a very direct north-south style of game. So kudos to all three of them. They were my 3 votes for the Masterton this year in the order of Anderson, Gallagher, and Dvorak. So good for them.
Well, just a quick aside for our viewers and listeners here. One of the reasons why I've always had a lot of respect for Josh Anderson. There are, I believe, 2, maybe 3 players in history who can claim one thing. Josh Anderson, you know where I'm going, Eric, is one of only, I think, 2 or 3 players. Tim Gleason would have been the other one to have fought both Zdeno Chara and Milan Lucic.
Jeff loves this.
I think there's only 3 of them.
Yeah.
And Josh Anderson. I think that Josh Anderson at his dad's, I think his dad has one of like a frame picture. His agent told me once, a frame picture of him stretching out with Chara. I'm like, what goes through your mind when you're doing that? Like, most guys that'll fight Chara will just try to seatbelt them, but Josh is stretching out. I love him. I got a lot of time for Josh Anderson.
Not just that, like Josh just had a kid, which was amazing. First time father. He has been playing since December, a game against the Rangers where Arthur Kaliyev fell on his leg with a serious knee injury. He has not missed a game outside of for the birth of his child. He has missed almost every practice, almost every morning skate. He is a culture. Marty St. Louis calls him the culture driver here. This guy, it's a fantastic story from where he came from last year, where his confidence couldn't have gotten lower. It's just a really good story.
Eric, I just have one more for you.
That's not true.
No, this actually might be true. I swear to God.
That's
Johnny,
the
are
joke.
you at a Hilton? Like, what kind of hotel are you sitting in right now?
I am in the Hilton by the ballpark overlooking Busch Stadium right now. It's actually
Johnny, get the
beautiful
Marriott
in St.
points
Louis.
going. I don't know what you're thinking.
What'd you say?
Get the Marriott points going. You're robbing.
I didn't book the hotel. I didn't book the hotel myself, but I'm not.
He goes where he's put. He goes where he's put.
But it is nice to overlook Busch Stadium. It is very cool over here. It's my first time in St. Louis. But my last question for you, we can obviously pinpoint so many different things about the 6-game win streak, but the one thing that stands out to me, which obviously is a little concerning, and I don't know if the winning can be sustainable here if it continues. No power play goals in the last 5 games, and they've won 5 straight. So, what is going on? Where does Demidov fit in that? And is it kind of like a no risk to throw him on the power play unit because they haven't tallied in their last 5? Is that almost a reason to try him out there?
I think there's a few reasons to try him out there. You talk about the last 5. They've had a relatively productive power play throughout the season. I don't know if it ranks 16th or 17th. They have one unit that plays, a minute 15, and then the other guys get on for 45 seconds, and it's a rush chance for Newhook or this or that. Within their one unit, I think they're funneled way towards the top, and that the 3-man kind of triangle up top instead of funneling things down. I look at Patrick Laine. To me, he's one of the best power play players in the world, and also one of the more frustrating ones because he even Ovechkin, if you watch Ovechkin play, okay, I know he stands in his spot, right? He stands, you could draw a circle around where he stands for 2 minutes on the power play, except when the puck goes goal line, he flashes to the back door. He's smart enough to know that he's going to draw somebody in there, and I'd like to see Laine do that when Slavkovsky gets the puck on the goal line, because he'll open up the point, he'll open up the bumper, he'll open up that shot again for himself by the time he gets back up. So there's different things. They're learning to play with each other. To me, power play is chemistry that's developed over years, not just like a few months, not even over a season. The potential is there. Demidov, whether he slides in there immediately to help that situation, is going to be a fixture there for the rest of his career. He will be on that number 1 unit. I don't know at whose expense, but it's going to be at somebody's. It's a good point, Johnny. I think they're more concerned with 5-on-5 play than anything because let's face it, they haven't clinched a playoff berth yet, but they're all but assured to make it there. And you don't get a lot of power plays come playoff. I mean, watching last night's game, and I don't know if you're seeing this trend around the league, guys. The amount of interference that was permitted in last night's game was crazy, and it doesn't make the game better. I got to tell you, it was.
You know what it is?
Actually annoying to watch.
You know what it is though, and this is what teams. It's funny too. We saw this with the Red Wings. They did it to perfection. Jay Woodcroft told me, who was an assistant coach with Detroit at that point, went under Babcock. He said, we go out there and deliberately take 1-minute penalties. I said, what do you mean by that? And he said, the 1-minute penalty is, and we did it with interference, casual picks, skating picks, just shading interference. He said, we will go out there and say, guys, we need a lot of 1-minute penalties. The penalty that doesn't feel like it should be a full 2 minutes It's just that shading of a player a little bit. It's like, if I call that, it's going to be chintzy. But essentially, you've set a pick. And Detroit did it with Datsuk and Zetterberg and Holmes, all those guys. They did it to perfection. And in that room, they called it the 1 minute penalty. It doesn't feel like a full 2, but it's just enough to not be a full interference penalty. And I think teams have picked up on that over the years. And honestly, Eric, I think everybody's doing that. Look at all the casual picks that you see in the game now.
I think it's just
nonstop.
It's not called the way it is through the first half of the season, that's for sure. And I understand it. I think we got to start asking ourselves if the game is better this way. I don't think it is. I just don't. There's too much skill that's being held up. This is the stuff that we worked so hard to get out of the game coming out of the 2004 or 5 lockout. Like, it was annoying to watch that game last night in a game that Detroit's playing for its season and Montreal's playing to basically secure its playoff hopes. I know I don't want it decided by the refs either, but they could have set a standard pretty early on that would take a lot of that stuff out of the game and made it much more exciting.
1 minute penalties. Start calling 1 minute penalties. Let's change the rule book.
I'm not against that. There's so many ways that I would change the rule book. Get rid of the trapezoid.
Me too.
2 minute fighting minors, 5 minute instigators, right, Jeff? That was what
I'm telling you, if you want to get rid of the fight after the hit, change it. Fights are 2 minutes, instigator is 5. That gets rid of it right away. Done, finished, over.
Mm-hmm. It's honestly my favorite point that you've made this season, I think. But Eric, I don't have anything else. You're free from my last question, unless Jeff, you have anything else before we let Eric go?
I just got one quickie here. I'm curious about the city. I'm curious about the hockey fans. How much, and I know it's completely different outside of the presence of one person specifically, Alexander Ovechkin. How much are people now talking about 2010, Kirk Muller, Yaroslav Halak, Mike Camilleri, who I saw on the weekend in Brampton? How much are people saying, hang on a second here, we've seen this movie before, the juggernaut Washington Capitals facing off against WC2, in this case, the Montreal Canadiens. Are people letting their minds wander with this one again?
I've definitely heard it a few times, but I would say this. The Canadiens are 3 points behind the Ottawa Senators, who lost their way into a playoff berth yesterday. They have swept the Ottawa Senators in the season series. And Marty St. Louis was asked about this in French last night, about, how his team has reacted to saving its spot in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And he said, well, when I run outside, I'm not looking at the people behind me. I'm hoping to catch the person in front of me. I never look behind. And he said that's how you should approach your life in general, is look forward and you may not pass people in front of you, but try to catch them. And I think the Canadiens are very much that mindset. And I look at their last 2 games, they were gassed. It's the 3-4 and then 5-8 and traveling between to Central Time. And it's normal. It's for every team that this happens, that when you get into those segments, by the end of it, you're gasping for air. Day of rest today, important. It's going to be a very short practice tomorrow. And then they've got back-to-back against Ottawa and Toronto, and this picture could look different. Now, I'm not suggesting they're going to pass the Senators, which was my preseason prediction, by the way. But they're going to make it a race with them. And I'm not convinced necessarily that they will be in wild card 2. I think we probably all agree they're going to make the playoffs here. I don't know. I don't see the Rangers rattling off 5 straight wins.
I said it last week.
It's over.
I don't think the Islanders are going to do that. And
it's over.
God, Columbus, all the credit in the world to all those guys. What they have done this season, and we just talked about the Masterton before. If Sean Monahan doesn't win it, is there a better candidate?
No.
Do you guys know? Is there a better candidate than Sean Monahan for the Masterton this year?
I would go Monahan.
I hope he was nominated.
I would go Monahan. I would also throw Gabe Landeskog in there.
Yeah,
but
he's got to play though, right?
Yeah, he hasn't played. Yeah, how does that?
Looks like
he might play with the Eagles on Friday. Let's see. He might go to the Eagles.
No, but those votes were cast, right? And they were announced.
Yeah,
today.
no, I know.
I don't even know if Monahan is Columbus's candidate. If he's not, then somebody must have an incredible story out of Columbus that beats his. But the level of play, what he has actually done this year, given all the circumstances of his past and with Johnny Gaudreau.
Mhm.
Columbus, Fulcrat, and Kirill Marchenko is amazing. Like that kid is so good.
Biggest value in the NHL.
There's great things going on in Columbus. They've been a fantastic story from coaching on down to everything that they've had to deal with and the way they have risen up this year. What a story. And I hope they finish the season strong. Those other teams that we talked about, they got their work cut out for them. So I don't know where Detroit goes from here. The Rangers, I don't
The Sabres
know.
might catch them all.
I don't know what happens with the Rangers.
Sabres might.
Sabres are destroying their lottery situation right now.
Stop getting out of their own way. But look, Tage Thompson is trying to win the Rocket Richard through all.
Johnny, before I leave, like, what do the Rangers do? Like, what happens with everything there? From management to coaching to what do they do with that?
It's going to be. We're going to do a whole Rangers postmortem, I think, on this show.
Might be tomorrow that you have to do it.
Well, in the days between the playoff or the end of the season and the first game of the playoffs, I think we're gonna dedicate one day to a Rangers postmortem.
He's punting
just
Jeff.
because obviously, I'm punting right now because I just don't have time to talk about it all. You know what I mean? It's a full episode show that we have to dedicate it to. It's the craziest 180 I've seen in hockey. A team that looked like they had all the magic in the world last year and could not be beaten to a team that doesn't seem to have any interest in winning a hockey game. I've never seen anything like it.
Dropping a bomb in the dressing room a quarter of the way through the season wasn't the greatest thing for them. I don't know.
No, definitely not. And listen, I think the fans ran Jacob Trouba out of town. And honestly, if there's one thing the Rangers might be missing right now, it's the physicality on the back end and the guy who can change the game with one hit, and that was Jacob Trouba. So there's a lot of things to think about, a lot of things to talk about. And, I think Colby and I will do some postmortem stuff. So we're going to look for a guest, but I'm actually happy you brought that up before. I mean, I guess, I can talk about it when you do leave, but it is great to see Sam Rosen and John Davidson getting a game together tonight for TNT. I think it's awesome that they're doing that with Sam's last year. So I did want to mention that as well. But Eric, thank you again for joining this morning. I know we're going to have you back on next week, so I'm not going to say talk to you in a few weeks or whatever. Like, we're going to ask you back every week while this run keeps going. Just, it's fun. Montreal's fun. And listen, I want to hear about Demidov. You watch him up close. I don't know how close I'll be able to watch him. So definitely interested to hear your initial thoughts on how he looks in the Montreal Canadiens uniform.
I recommend tuning in. I recommend tuning in to watch Ivan Demidov.
He's got a little skill for sure. You're the best, bud.
Thanks, Eric. Thanks,
pal.
Appreciate it. Jeff, I have a trivia question for you before we do our Bet365 good night. Because you brought up the Josh Anderson thing, and the chat can get involved in this too. I know a lot of I'm not going to give a hint away, but can you name, I believe it is only one player, but with all the Ovechkin talk this week and, Sidney Crosby clinching his 20th straight point per game season, can you name the one player in the NHL, at least the one that I'm aware of, that has fought both Sidney Crosby and Alexander Ovechkin?
Ooh. Andrew Ference?
Not to my knowledge.
Matt Niskanen?
I don't know. I'm only sure of one, and those two aren't it. I know the Ranger fans are in here.
Everyone's saying Brandon Dubinsky in the chat.
Brandon Dubinsky? Yep. Brandon Dubinsky fought them both.
Picking on the Stars.
Fought them both. We're going to have to fact check that one just because I don't know if there are others, but I'm pretty sure Dubinsky is the only one that I can confirm.
Okay, here you go. Here's another one for you. This is in the Mythbusters segment that I want to do one of these days somewhere down the road. How many fights did Gordie Howe actually have?
You think I know that? I have no idea.
You would think like 100.
Yeah,
right?
Maybe one. I don't know how many. I have no idea. How many do you have?
22.
22?
That's it.
But he scored and had an assist every game, so that's why they did it.
No, listen, like I'm not saying the guy wasn't legend, one of the best players of all time. The only thing, and get me going on Gordie Howe, but the building of the reputation of Gordie Howe post career has been really interesting to watch. Right, like Harry Cameron was the first to get the Gordie Howe hat trick. That was in 1917 before Christmas in Toronto. And Gordie himself only had 2. The only reason I know this is this guy by the name of Paul Patsku. And during the 2005 lockout, Paul and I, we always wanted to get together and do and Paul's like one of the, like, for my money, the best hockey researcher and historian in the game, period. I love Paul. And Paul essentially spent the large part of the lockout at the Hockey Hall of Fame Resource Center going through Gordie Howe game sheets to find out how many fights, 22, he had, and how many Gordie Howe hat tricks he had, and it was 2.
It's not, yeah, 2 is what the chat is saying. Yeah.
2.
Which is nuts.
Yeah. 2. Now, I'm not saying that it wasn't tough. Not at all. But the other thing was, I think he only had 3 fights with guys bigger than him, too.
Yeah. I mean, is there footage of it?
There are some. I think there's one with, who is it? Is it Elmer Vasco picking him up and throwing him down? I know things didn't go well when he fought Fern Flaman, who may have been the toughest at that time. You talk to the old timers and, they'll tell you no, Fern Flaman may have been the toughest of all time. I'll go Orland Kurtenbach on that, but that's really splitting hairs. But there are. Oh, Fern Flaman was great. Oh, the master of the hip check, him and Leo Boyven. And legit tough guy. And Orland Kurtenbach, he fought like a boxer. He didn't grab and throw. He would jab, bob, weave, lift. There's a great video out there of him fighting Terry Harper twice in the same brawl, and just 2 punches splits him open. Harper goes down, and Harper comes back at him again. And Orland's like, "You really want to do this again?" It's center ice, Maple Leaf Garden. But anyway, Orland was one of the more legit. But no, the only point I was trying to make here is we have this nostalgic haze, and every sports generation has their own myths and grows up with their own myths. You can do this with any player, any era, any team, all of it. The Gordie one, the making of Gordie Howe Inc. is really a story that really needs to be told somewhere down the road. And we'll do it either on the sheet or some special that I do about
that seems like something that you should only be doing.
Oh, I know. I love stuff like that though, but I love,
you're the hockey historian. You are.
No, I don't know about that one. I just like hockey history. I don't submit peer reviewed papers. So I wouldn't call myself a historian. Just like history.
But I love the trivia. I had to ask you that one. So I'll fact check.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Brandon Dubinsky. That's a good one.
Yeah.
That is a good one.
All right. We have some.
And by the way, there's some people that don't think that Fern Flaman is a real person.
J-Rock saying that you're making up names just to troll us. Which honestly, you could say any name. You could put any name together, and I'll just shake my head and be like, "Yeah, I believe you."
Bobblehead it. Yeah,
you can. Next time you come on here, I don't know if Colby's listening or not. You should actually come up with 10 made-up names and talk about them.
Here's what I'm gonna do. Here's what I'm going to do. Next time I'm on with you and Colby, this is going to be I want to do a game of, is this a real person?
Yeah, I like
I'm going to have 5.
Well, you've done that with Greg Wyshynski, right? Are these real hockey teams?
Yes. Are these real hockey teams? We'll do, is this a real player or was this a real player? And I'll get you 5 names and you tell me whether it's a real player or not.
I would love that.
Let's do it.
I would love that.
Done.
We have to do that.
Done.
Lock that in.
Yes.
Okay, so some order of business because I have to get to the Scott Trade Center here pretty soon. We have to do our Bet365 bet of the night, where every nail-biting overtime win is a barn burner. Every face-off, hat trick, power play, shot on goal, penalty shot, and every suspenseful minute in between is amazing. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary. At Bet365, an official partner of the NHL. Download the Bet365 app and use the code NATION, NATION, in all caps to get in on the game. You must be 19 or older, and remember, please play responsibly. Tonight, we are rolling with the Calgary Flames, who are 4 points back. 4 points back of the Minnesota Wild. The Minnesota Wild are home tonight hosting the San Jose Sharks. The Calgary Flames are on the road taking on the Anaheim Ducks, who have been playing pretty decent hockey as of late. It's not going to be an easy game for the Calgary Flames tonight, but we are taking the Flames money line on the road against the Anaheim Ducks. This is a actual heated wildcard race right now because these two teams actually meet on Friday night, Minnesota and Calgary. So that's going to be a must-watch hockey game. And the NHL Enterprise, what did I Enterprise Center? What did I call it? Scott Trade.
Because I was gonna say I like the old school. Whenever I talk about the Oilers, playing at Northlands Coliseum. I should have
corrected me. How long is it?
No, because I enjoyed it.
Now I know them.
You said Scott Trade. I'm like, oh yeah, the old branding. Oh, that's good. It's still called the Air Canada Center. Why not?
I should have known. Oops, my bad. But Calgary Flames are right there in it. And again, if they win tonight, Friday's game is going to be an absolute battle. So those are two teams to pay attention to. The NHL actually put out a graphic yesterday about the playoffs, and they had 8 and 8 on both sides. And I'm like, Calgary is still right there in it. this thing isn't done yet. So
done.
those are the games to watch tonight, but we got Calgary money line.
Can I ask you one question about one player? I'm not sure. Like I love watching this guy with Anaheim. Like, look, man, you guys talk a lot on the show about Cutter Gauthier, and he was great the other night, snapping in 2 against the Edmonton Oilers. The guy that I love on that team I really like Mason McTavish, but Jackson Lacombe.
Yeah, he's nasty. I talked about him and Zellweger yesterday. Those two fly.
Oh, Lacombe is so good. Like, I always wonder, like, are my eyes deceiving me here? Like, we all see the games differently. So I always ask people, like, what do you think when you see Jackson Lacombe? Like, every time he's on the ice for me, like, he does something. And I'm just like, am I the only? I can't be the only one here. Like, I know everyone's like, Zellweger, Minchikov, all that on that blue line. But, man, Lacombe's good.
He flies. He's so good. Any final thoughts before we wrap it up? I got a busy day today with
no, I want you to go have fun, man. Go have great experiences in one of the great roller hockey towns of all time, as Pat Maroon will tell you, noted roller hockey player. And I know you play some roller hockey as well, Johnny. You're in one of the meccas for roller hockey, but I know you're there for the tournament. So go enjoy yourself.
I will actually tell you, because you talked about that Chris Kunitz goal, and you'll never forget where you were. I was actually playing roller hockey, and they had the audio of the game playing during my roller hockey game of the Pittsburgh Ottawa Game 7. And
where were you?
I was playing on Long Island at Skate Safe, where I used to play growing up. And they just, I don't even know if it was like a 30, I was playing in like a regular league game. I played in my friend's 30 and over league, and I cheated my way.
And they had the
team.
Pittsburgh Ottawa series blasting. That's cool.
It was game 7.
Cool. I know it was game 7. I know, but there's a great story that Colby Armstrong tells about Mario Lemieux during that series. It's like, the Ottawa Senators win a game to force another game, so they're going back to Pittsburgh, which means another home date for the Pittsburgh Penguins. And Colby says he's out on his back deck, and his old house overlooked the golf course where Mario Lemieux and Pierre LaRouche, his buddy and former NHLer himself, play golf every morning. And Colby's like having a cup of coffee, and he sees Mario and Pierre coming through and goes, "Hey, Mario, another game, eh? Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching." And he goes, Mario looks at him and goes, "Colby, another pair of shoes."
I think I've heard
another pair of shoes. And that's from that series. I think of that series. I think of the Kunitz goal and Mario Lemieux saying, another pair of shoes.
Mm-hmm. I remember hearing you guys talk about that one. But all right, that's all we got for today. Should be Colby and I again tomorrow. Jeff, thank you again so much for stepping in. A big thanks to Eric Engels as well. Who do you got in your show today?
I don't know, but we're looking for someone. It's funny too, because someone either from Montreal or from Ottawa. If we get the person that we're hoping from Ottawa, and I don't want to jinx it, it'll be massive. Let's see if we get there. Let's see if. All right.
Well, I'll be watching it. Later tonight. Obviously can't tune in live today, so you won't see me in the chat. But good luck today. We love you guys. Don't forget to like the show and subscribe. Colby is going to be very busy today as well, and obviously on the call tomorrow night for both games. So we'll talk to you guys tomorrow morning. Love you and have a great day.
What's up, hockey fans? If you enjoyed that video, then you need to be hitting the subscribe button right here at Daily Faceoff. Exclusive interviews and analysis from our hockey insider Frank Saravalli, fantasy updates from Brock Sagan, and a daily live show at noon Eastern, Monday through Friday. You don't want to miss any of the fantastic content, so hit that subscribe button.